Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Everyone.
babe. How you
Hey, guys.
doing?
How are you?
I'm
How
good. Hi, audience. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Everybody, one, I want you guys to let me say this. I want you guys to like and share this post because I think that our conversation today is going to be a conversation that, you know, I think will influence people. What you think, Dad?
I think so. I think we're gonna say some interesting stuff and something that we need to do more of. We need to discuss family, talk about issues the issues of the world, the issues of the home
The
and the family.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because before we can start talking about dating, which I'm going to give you guys an update on, but before we can
Okay.
talk about dating and having relationships outside of
Mm.
our, you
That's right.
know,
The
of
home.
our home, meaning where we came from,
That's right.
we got to make sure and ensure that home is intact. And even
Home.
if it's in chaos, that we have some type of stability, right? Or some type of understanding in that, or some forgiveness in that. And so today's topic, so remember, like, share, and comment because your comments are welcome. And I really in this topic, I really want y'all comments. And if y'all have a question for my dad, post it in the
Yeah.
chat. I'll ask him. If you have a question for me, post it in the chat. I'll answer that. But remember to follow us on What Will My Daddy Say on Facebook. We have that. And if you have any questions or thoughts or comments, make sure to put those in the chat as well. I will be pulling up the chat as the engineer. I will be pulling up the chat to have a conversation. But if you guys don't know, I'm Sheila Little. Uh, I am a therapist and a PhD candidate. Woo-hoo. And this is my dad
Hey, yeah,
right
yeah.
here.
A
This is
proud
my
dad,
dad.
proud
Yeah.
dad at that.
hmm And his
Yes.
name is Big Frank.
Hey,
And,
y'all.
in today's show topic, Dad is Family Matters, right? And
Family.
it's kind of like a play on the words, right? So not just family matters, meaning that they're important and they are that family is important and they should be taken into consideration in everything we do, but also the matters of a family, the
That's
things
right.
that happen, the dynamics within a family that happen that sometimes leave us traumatized and
Lost,
affected
confused. Yes,
and
yes.
confused, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And so I think that it's very challenging when we have matters of the family that happen as we come up and we don't really know how to let those matters go or we don't really know how to address those matters. And so a part of, like I said, a part of this conversation is one, me sharing you guys with my dad. This is my first week. This is my first day back to work. I had a crick in my neck. I
Mhm.
kind of had
Okay.
some stuff going on in my throat, so I took the week off. But I'm so grateful that that I was able to get up, come to work today, and then also do the show because I really think it's important to have this discussion on family matters. So, Dad, do you think that family matters?
Yes, yes, I think so. And let me just say that. Listen, home is our foundation. Home is where we shape our whole life to prepare for the world. Home is very important, and if we get a good structure, a good foundation in the home, usually when we take it to the world, then it's going to be all right. Because when you come and listen, everybody don't come from two family homes, or everybody. Some people come from broken homes, but if you have a solid foundation, which is your home,
Mm-hmm.
then everything is going to work out because we were taught right. I heard some earlier in the week. One of the comedians, Ricky Smiley, was saying that a lot of parents think they owe children something. Parents do a lot to prepare our children for this world. So what we do is a lot of kids use that against us though, and make it hard for us to parent to. But in order to set that foundation, we have to be firm and direct and make sure that our kids know. right from wrong, what's good and acceptable, and then try to keep a spiritual life.
So I'm glad that you said that, because when we're talking about family, right? There's a legacy of family, right? So you come from, what you come from, right?
What you
So a
come
lot of
from.
the families that my generation have now is either one is a result of the family they came from. Would you
That's
agree?
right.
So
That's
either
right.
they're trying to mimic that, or either they're
Mhm.
trying to run away from that. Like,
That's
I
one
don't
of the
want
two.
that. And so
That's
I'm
right.
trying to run away from that. And I think that our story is unique. And so I want to take the opportunity, one, to share our story. But, you know, I think it's about, so when we're talking about family matters, in this case, we're not so much talking about your dynamics in your family today, right? Like you and
That's
your
right.
kids,
That's
although it's
right.
going to help that, but we're talking about like where you come from,
Where
right?
you come
Like
from, the
the matters of
foundation.
your family and where you
That's right.
came from, maybe how interrupting, disrupting, or
Mhm.
orchestrating and consolidating the kind of family you have now. Would
That's
you
right.
agree that?
That's right. I agree 100%. And
Yeah,
and well, a lot of times we wanna, like husbands and wives set examples, and their children go out and they want to be. I want to get a girl like my mom. I want to get a guy like my dad. And so your home is your foundation, though, baby. It's like putting anything you do. You need a foundation. You need a firm foundation in order to stand. You need a firm foundation in everything that we do.
so
And
let
the,
me
and the cornerstone of that is, of course, putting Christ first, and that way we won't go wrong if we use that scenario. Let's put God in it, and then we're gonna come out right.
This is so true. So listen, so let me talk about this, because this is the most powerful story I've ever heard in my life, in my upbringing, me and yours.
Oh
Sheila and
yeah.
Frank. The story of Sheila and Frank. And people who know this story probably will put like little laugh signs up. But so I met my dad when I was 20. 19. I was 19. Okay, you see how space punch, because he swear he came into my life at 17. But I was 19. So that meant 19 years I didn't have a dad.
That's
Right?
right.
I didn't have a dad. Well, I had a dad. He was my legal father, right? He represented my legal father. Look at my daddy face, y'all. This is a very challenging conversation. So I applaud you, Dad, one, for sitting here and helping to heal, right?
That's right. That's
Individuals,
right.
right?
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
had a legal father coming up. I didn't have a relationship with that legal father coming up, right? Stephen said, "What's up?" And Kenya said, "What's up?" too. So I didn't have a relationship with that legal father, right? And so for 19 years, I went without knowing this man right here, right? This
That's
one
right.
right
That's
here,
right.
right? And
Knew him, but knew him, but didn't know he was that
I
guy.
knew him, yeah, because he would do little stuff like drive up and be like, "Hey, little girl, come over here, give me." And then I would like take my little brother, like, "Hey, he always trying to give me dollars or quarters or something, ask me how I was doing in school. He always knew about me, and I always wonder, like, how does this man
Yeah.
know what I got going on, And
That's right.
he would give me and my brother dollars and quarters and all of that. And I kind of thought it was creepy, me myself, because I'm like, I don't know him, but he always give us dollars. So come on, let's go get our dollars. And but he had a family, right? So he
That's
was
right.
a dad who had a family, who had kids, who took care of his kids. He was a great father to his kids, had them every weekend, took them to Disney World. Great father, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To the kids of his, but he wasn't that for me,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So it was a situation where him and my mom got together, and for some reason, I mean, well, it was a very,
A touchy
situation
situation.
that they
A touchy situation.
shouldn't have done. And so I was the secret child, right? So when mom got pregnant, she came and told him, "Hey, you know what? I'm pregnant." And what did you say?
I don't think so. I didn't think that.
I don't
I
think
just,
that's
I
yeah, I don't
just.
think that's mine. Whatever. But I guess somewhere in the spirit, he realized that this, maybe she mine, because as he's seeing me come up and he's seeing the features, and if y'all see this little side by side view, y'all can see like, oh yeah, she looked like her daddy, right? And so what happened was, and this is divine, right? So this is truly an orchestration of God, because my mama had vowed to keep it a secret, right? My daddy had vowed to keep it a secret, right? And about 15, I met this guy. Who, we were similar. My friends were like, you need to meet him, you need to meet him, you need to meet him. And I knew that he was family because I knew who his daddy was, right? So his daddy was my daddy. So I'm like, oh yeah. Well, I didn't know he was my daddy at the time, but this family. So we was cool. We started hanging out real closely. And my dad found out that I was hanging out, right? And what did you do that?
Well, as a dad, being that her mom had told me that this was my child, and of course I knew the guy was my child. So,
and these are two kids outside of
both outside of wedlock. So, but in the process, I figured I better just try and intervene. You know, so many kids get confused out here and not. And we as parents don't speak up when we should. So I decided I better talk to these parents, the mothers of both of these children, and let them know what's happening. And then, of course, I went to the girl and told her what was, what I thought was going on. And even though her and the guy was just friends,
it's cool.
I have a son, another son, Anthony Howard is my son. So. We had this situation that came up that a girl and a guy was friends, and stuff happens when girls and guys get together, especially when they don't know the dynamics of what's going on. They just thought they was cool like that.
All right. So let me interpret that. So you heard that I was hanging out with your son. You knew I was, right? And so you were thinking that, oh, maybe these two individuals, which me and him was cool.
That's right.
Maybe these two individuals, may do something. So let me come in because the mamas ain't saying nothing, right? But the mamas didn't know. But the mamas didn't know, right?
Well, the mamas did know. They didn't speak, but they
didn't speak.
Well, one of the moms knew. Because your mom knew, but the other mom didn't know that this girl was out there.
Yeah. And my mama kind of had some fidelity in me, so she trusted, because she would ask like, what y'all doing? And then I'd be like, oh, we just cool or whatever. And so as a consequence, my dad just basically put his foot down and was like, look, either y'all gonna tell them that they siblings, or I'm gonna tell them. Yeah. Right? My mom set me down and she says, hey, your daddy ain't your daddy, right? Now, here's the thing, and this is why I love this story, and this is why this topic is family matters, and this is why I have the What Will My Daddy Say show, because a big part of the What Will My Daddy Say show is helping individuals to navigate their relationships, but not just the dating relationship, but our parental relationships too. Because I'm a 43-year-old woman who still needs the advice of my father, who still seeks it out, who still wants it. And there were times as a little girl, and Dad, I just told you this, where I always dreamed of my mom and dad being in the same room, but I never thought it would happen, right? And I get to experience that now. And I think I get to experience that now because when I found out that you was my dad, I was just like, I want to meet him.
That's right.
I want to meet him. And this comes to today's quote, right? Today's quote is, the man sets the thermostat, not the thermostat. Oh, the man, I did that wrong. Let me say this. The man should be the thermostat and not the thermometer. Let me put that on here. The thermometer. And what does that mean, Dad?
Well, the thermostat is it's a control. It's a controller that keeps everything flowing nice and easy. And a thermometer can tell you whether something is hot or cold or good or bad. And so, and so, I guess I like how you put that the man is the thermostat, because he's that controller there that keeps that. It's like in your car. That's what keeps that car nice and cool, sort of run right. It won't let it overheat. It won't let it undercool. So,
Yeah.
and I think, babe, I think I need to clarify something too for them, because my baby came in once I explained to her what was going on and why that situation was the way it was. She could have been rebellious, but this kid was receptive. She wanted to get to know her dad, who was, what was, and she didn't question why you and my mom, why this. She didn't do that. She accepted me because I came in not trying to be a dad, but trying to make sure that the young people don't get off on the wrong foot because they don't know what's
Right.
what.
But I think that's right.
Right.
But I think that's why I made this the quote of the day, because like I told you, you came in as a thermostat. You set the tone for our relationship. And I think that if there's a parent that's listening to this, right, who has an issue that they need to heal with their child, and they know they've done something in error or whatever, that they have to come in as the thermostat and not the thermometer. Because I don't think you came in trying to in any way say, okay, let me feel and see what she thinking. Like if she cold, let me let her warm up. If she too hot, like let me let her cool down. I think you came in very much like, hey, I know I was wrong, right? I know that I didn't show up the way I was supposed to, but here's the situation. I want to get to know you. I'm not trying to be your quote unquote dad, right? But I just want to get to know the person that I created a life, that I helped create the life for. And for me, that was the thermostat. So it was like, okay, so he came in, he accepted, you know what I mean? It wasn't no excuses like, all of these stories of what could have or what, you know what I mean? It was definitely like why this, why that. It was very much upfront. This is what happened. Yep, I'm sorry that happened to you. You know what I mean? I know you saw me be a great dad. I'm sorry that you had to see me be a great dad. And but I want a relationship with you now, right? Setting that temperature, I think it wasn't like you were trying to feel me out, right? It wasn't like you came in like, okay, let me see what she gonna think or what she gonna do. And that just made it easy for me to be hot or cold, right? About the situation, because you had already made up your mind what you were trying to be, right? For us in this relationship. And the beauty of that is that happened, 24 years ago, 25 years ago, 25 years ago. And when I tell you that, I say it's divine, because I don't know if I did need a daddy maybe between 1 and 19. I probably did, but I definitely needed a father between the ages of 19 and 43, right? I needed your advice. I needed your presence, 3 o'clock in the morning calls, take me to the airport, whatever it was, like you were there for me. And I feel like if I would have held on to the bitterness, to the anger, to the what ifs, or why wasn't you there for me? You know what I mean? I would have missed out on all of this experience for the last 25 years that I had to have with you. What do you think about that?
Well, and then once again, we developed such a chemistry, such a unique relationship as friends first, and then as father-daughter.
Yes.
That we are, it was so cool, and it seemed like it was just made to go together, because my girls always have been, my somebody that I wanted to be close to the girls, because girls have in this world, not in society, not men control. So I wanted my girls to always know that y'all got a man in your life, and you got somebody. And my baby accepted me as a friend first, and then as a father, and we have developed you see where we are to this day.
Right. And again, it wasn't easy. I don't want to make it like it was easy, right? So we had to have challenging conversations, and you walked me through the whole process. But I think the reason why I wanted to share that today is we never know what's going to happen. So at this moment, I just want to lift a prayer for my sisters. You know, last week kind of got cut short from our show, right? Because my sister, you know, she's dealing with some kind of, you know, illness or whatever, and we're all going to pray for her. So I ask you guys to, you know, heal her. But over the last 2 years, even with the pandemic, you know, things happening in people's life, you know, situations, we never know what's around the corner for us. You know what I mean? So we need to make sure that we are addressing the matters of our family and not repeating those things. Would you agree that?
I agree 100%
with our kids.
Yes, but so many families have it. Listen, there's not a family in the world that don't have some kind of internal issues, whether it's a sickness, whether it's a personal, you know, personal health, or you know, a personal problem. We have, you know, families go through stuff, and there's not a family. And the idea though is how we deal with adversities, how we deal with situations when trouble arises. Whether it's, like I said, certain things we can't control. We can't control sickness. We know that that's something that we don't know what, we don't know when. And what I do know though is, because we don't know what tomorrow may bring, let's enjoy today and be as grateful and thankful for each and every day, because it's so many of us, as we see that pandemics and famines and disasters every single day.
So as a parent, Dad, right? So as a parent who knew that you had this kid out here and you wasn't active in their lives, and I just say you got the whole life to get it right. You got your whole life to get it right. So any parent that's out there, you got your whole life to get it right. I'm a living witness. I didn't meet my dad till I was 19, 20, and we have a perfect relationship, a great relationship. But perfect, I would say perfect, you know, because we deal with stuff. But tell me this, as a parent who know that you have erred, right? You've done this thing that.
That's right.
What would you want your child to know? What would you want the child to know?
Well, situations come up for whatever reason that we don't acknowledge that at that time, or for whatever reason that thing don't work out like it should have. You know, grudges can be the worst thing that because we can hold on to some stuff so bad that it'll mess our whole life up. So we don't want to. What we want to do is we want to try to move forward, move ahead, and get past it. When we sit and had that conversation for a whole night and day, just talking about what, you know, where you been, where you come from, what's this, why this. I remember you coming and seeing Nita and Frank, and it was, you know, it was just an ideal situation, and I wish that I could have been a part of something like that. So since you missed out on that though, I wanted to make sure that I give the best I could, and like I said, once you came on the scene, it was like, okay, this is. Let me show her now that it's still not too late to be a, because we make mistakes. You know, everybody, men make mistakes like women make mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's important to know, even as adult people. Because I think that one, I bring you in at 19, no forgiveness, and I still kind of had some issues with my mom. But I think like when I became a mom, right, like about 28, 29, I realized, oh, she's just a woman, right, who had issues, right, that she had to work through, right, and I didn't get that realization until I became a mother, you know. So a part of my growth or acceptance is that into the individuals that's watching is that we all go through stuff. You know what I mean? We all go through stuff. But why do you think it is difficult for people to forgive and let go? Why is that so challenging?
Well, listen. I heard old man say one time, listen, old fools used to be young fools. So what happens is, listen, when you're young, you don't know. So you feeling your way through. I mean, you feeling your way through life. You trying to learn life yourself. And at that time, when you was conceived as a child, I mean, you know, I didn't know how to deal with it, especially coming out of wedlock. I mean, you know, that was a touchy situation back in those days. So I was afraid. She was afraid. So we just kind of let it kind of just simmer. And then as these kids got older and they got to know one another. And I guess the whole point to the whole answer to your question is old folks make mistakes too. And listen, old fools was once young fools. I guess is the best way I could put it. I was young and foolish, didn't know how to deal with it, just like a lot of young parents. And I come from a single parent home, and my mom never taught me how to be a parent other than on her own skills.
Right.
But I mean,
I want to pause. I want to just thank you so much, Daddy, because I really do feel like your conversation is helping a lot of people, because I feel like people make mistakes.
That's right.
And they don't know how to just say, I made a mistake.
I made a mistake. And it's simple as that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay, babe. It's okay. I want you to be.
Because I deal with it on a regular, as a therapist, I work with people and they hold these grudges against individuals who simply made a mistake, who simply only knew what they knew at the time, right? And when they learn something different, and I think that's what happened in our situation, you found out something different. Okay, wait, I didn't not, say she was my daughter for all this time, but now this is a critical time, right?
Yeah.
She met her brother and they hanging out and they cool and they, you know what I mean? And how many people still wouldn't have, came up and said, because they would have let whatever the judgments, whatever the ridicule, stop them. And so I just applaud you for even stepping up and saying, hey, you know what? I did this thing, I made a mistake. But listen, y'all are siblings, even though we was just friends, we was cool. We wasn't together, we wasn't dating or anything, but you took accountability for your actions. So Ms. Colleen said his accountability and your forgiveness and acceptance allow a beautiful relationship to be created and grow. And I agree with her 100%. You took accountability and I have forgiveness. And I just want individuals who are listening to the show to realize we all make mistakes. We all do things.
That's right. And holding on to
because as you started to talk, I'm just like, wow, this is so amazing. Reliving that journey, right? Again, because you my daddy now. So it's like nothing, I don't even think about it. But when the situation came up with my sister, I'm like, man, how many people need to heal, right? How many people really need to come together and let their path go so that they can ultimately live the life they desire and deserve, right? So, in your own words, Dad, what is forgiveness?
Well, to me, forgiveness is when somebody express themselves to you and let you know that what they have done, they was wrong for doing it. They asking for forgiveness. They want you to. And then once you accept that, though, when you accept that from that person, then leave that, put that behind us and go head on. Because listen, we can hold on to stuff so long, and we see it every single day. There are so many confused minds out here because they're holding on to something that a simple apology could have been sufficient. And then a person wouldn't even have to listen. If Jesus Christ himself said that was only one perfect person. So we all have come short according to the scriptures. Everybody have sinned and come short. So we all have made mistakes. We all, and listen, and then you talked earlier today, yesterday is over. It's done. If we put yesterday behind and try to make tomorrow be a better day and try to move on from whatever, because there's no situation so big that we can't handle it if we let put the head in that situation.
Right. But Dad, so this is a general question about me dating, men, fathers, parents. What about people who don't ask for forgiveness?
That's why we have
who don't take the accountability. Should we still forgive them?
Well, that's what the problem. That's why so many confused minds out here. There's so much going on in the world now because people don't take accountability, or they don't step up, or we don't examine self. I love Michael Jackson, The Man in the Mirror. I mean, if once we start accepting responsibilities for ourselves and for our shortcomings and our mistakes, see, I can't do nothing against you or to you until I first check my own self. If I check myself, then everything else going to be in place because I do what I'm supposed to do. Once I check self and then get myself together, because I can't help you if I don't take care of me first.
Right, right. But
So
you
once
gotta
I
ask
do
the
this,
question, though. The question was, should I forgive you if you haven't asked for my forgiveness?
well, you can't though. You can't forgive me because you don't. I mean, I haven't, and I think that's a powerful question because it's so many people that don't know how to ask for forgiveness. I
Right. So
could be
that's
holding
my
on to
point.
something,
I said
but
that's my point.
I could hold on to something so long and you not even knowing that I'm holding a grudge or I have a problem with you or issue with you about something that maybe 20 years down the road and I'm still holding on to it. And so I can't see forgiving somebody for something that I don't even know about.
Right. But I'm saying so let me give the example. I got a
Hmm.
grudge with you, right? You don't
Hmm.
even know about this grudge, or maybe you do know about this grudge. Is it
Okay.
important for me to forgive you anyway, whether you ask me for forgiveness or not? Is it important for me to just let it go?
Well, they said that first you have to clean your own. So yeah, if you clean your own, because it's hindering you. It ain't hindering that person if they don't know. So you know it's not hindering them. So yes, it's bothering you. It's not bothering them because they don't even know. So
Right.
I would say that would be sufficient. Yeah, to try and clean that up with yourself if you possibly can.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know how to forgive too, babe. They don't know. They don't. I mean, there's nothing so big or so bad that you can't forgive a person for. It's just listen, Christ forgive us for every sin we ever done. So there's nothing so and I know we ain't no we Christ like. We have the ability to say, hey, I
Right.
accept your forgiveness or I forgive
Well,
you in spite of
I personally feel like the Bible say that you could do this and more, right?
in more. That's right.
So
That's right.
I actually feel like we are ordained as individuals to do more than what Christ did,
Yeah.
when he was on
Well,
this earth.
we should be able to, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
So
well,
that
we
question about forgiveness, though, I think it's important because I want the people to understand that whether a person asks you for forgiveness or not, you
Mhm.
gotta let that go if you
Yeah,
want to move
yeah.
forward in your life. And I agree that with you when you said that it's so challenging for people to give people forgiveness because they don't know what that means, right? Because does that
That's
mean
right.
it was right? Do it mean that it was right that you let me go 19 years,
Hmm.
without knowing that you was my
Without,
dad? Does
that's
that
right.
mean that
Yeah.
when I said I forgave you, did that mean that I was saying, oh yeah, dad, you was right for not being in my life for 19
No,
years?
no, 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 no,
No,
no,
it did
no,
not mean that.
no.
I heard
That's
this from Oprah.
right.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the
That's
past
right.
could have been any different,
That's right.
right? So I went
Okay.
19 years without father.
Yeah. Well,
That's it.
and yeah,
And
and
so
once
I had
again,
to forgive that because it is no way that I can get those 19 years back. But what
exactly,
I do have the
exactly.
power and authority to do is
Hmm.
create 19 years in front of me
That's
of what
right.
that would look
It's
like.
been a
Or
good, and
how
it's
would it
been a
want to
good,
be?
and
And
that's been a
yes,
good
you have
25
it.
years that we've yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
So we're
forget. So
glad that we put
yeah,
that behind
looking
us.
at
We're
the
glad
hope.
that we could have held on to that, like you said, you could have held that, but I was so thankful that you accepted. And I guess I probably should tell them about the part where, I had an older daughter that I wanted my girls to be friends. I wanted them to accept and they even accepted one another. And that was big for me. That was my greatest goal was to get those girls to bond with one another. And they have such a beautiful relationship now. And I love that because if
And the
I
boys
didn't
come
do that,
around too. The boys end up coming around and saying, okay,
well,
yeah,
boys, knuckleheads, it take
yeah.
time. Yeah,
But I guess here's the thing: family matters.
yeah,
Matters of the family. Now, how did growing up without a dad affect me,
yeah.
right?
Well,
And then how did having a father affect me? right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I got both sides of the equation. Like I grew up as a fatherless daughter, right?
Right. Right.
Who possibly had mommy and daddy issues.
Yeah.
Mommy
Yeah.
and daddy issues.
It could very easily have went astray, baby. That
Yeah,
could very easily.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I had mommy and daddy issues. And
Yeah.
then I come into my adulthood and now I have this father, right? This
Mhm.
guy who's representing the male energy in my life and the dad and and being able to
Mhm.
communicate. And it definitely shifted me
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
to an experience that I feel like I would never have, but it also shifted the dynamics of how I looked at family.
All
And so
right.
when it came to then, breaking a relationship with my kid's father, how was I going to do that, right? To
That's right.
ensure that
That's
they would have a relationship with their kid's father, to ensure that we would have a relationship. And we talked about this last week, the
right.
relationship that you have with my mom and all
Mhm.
your kids, mothers for
Yes.
that matter,
Yeah.
right? So how do the families that we come from, Dad, shape who we become in our families? What do you think?
Well, first and foremost, let me say this. Here, listen, there's so many single parent home. Listen, when we co-parent, for instance, I think this is the key to the whole thing. Co-parenting is so important nowadays when we have children because relationships don't always last. Husbands and wives divorcing every single day, and then those children, they are the ones that has to. So we have to keep them structured, and we as the parents, though, we need to be able to get along to communicate for our children so they can see their life don't quit because me and mom couldn't get along, me and dad couldn't get along. We still have we have a duty
Mhm.
to make sure that our children understand. Listen, me and mom ain't getting along, but you still. I didn't have a dad. So I always, from the time I was 14, 15, I wanted to be. If I ever had children, I wanted to be a part of their life. So listen, it's a hard deal to go through life. I have a son that we didn't have a relationship either, and it was the hardest thing to do. But then listen, as a kid get to be so old, there's no trying to play dad no more.
Right.
You want to just try and be friends. You want to try and understand, want them to try and understand that. Listen, this thing, when you're young, you make mistakes. This thing called life can get to be a difficult task. And
Mhm.
if you're not grounded, if you're not willing to sacrifice or explain that it was some things that went on that didn't allow, because it's so many parents that go through this thing and not the one of the parents don't even allow the child to be a part of the mom or the dad's life.
Right. So that's my question because the quote said, "A man sets the thermostat, not the thermometer." And I feel like we go through that in relationships with men too. Like, they're
Mhm.
like, oh, if we say something, they're kind of more feeling for like, oh, is she saying this? Is she cool? Or she, let me kind of
Yeah.
feel her out before you know what I mean? Setting the
All right,
tone for the conversation, setting the tone for the relationship. And I got that off of the Hello Husby show today. Jessica Reedy put a post up and she had Warren Sapp on. And he has said this that the man sets the thermometer, sets the thermostat, not the thermometer. But my question to you about that is that are men important to the family dynamic, Dad?
Of course, we need that. Listen, the man is always supposed to be the head of the family. Now, listen, it's so many of us has dropped the ball, daughter. I just shared that was my Bible class last night. So many men, so many leaders, not just, I mean, in every facet of life. I'm talking about you can come to the White House, to the president, to the teachers, to the pastors. I mean, we have came short. We have came up short. Now listen, a lot of times we blame the woman for because there's no reason for a man not to be able to if he got a child out there. Yeah, the woman can tell you, well, I got a new man. I have brothers that have children, outside children, and the mothers didn't want them to have nothing to do with it. I think in time that child will come, she'll come around or he'll come around and find out for himself. You know, I do have a dad somewhere, and I want to get to know him. I want to find him. I want to see what, maybe he can explain some things to me.
So why do you feel like a man is an important dynamic to a family?
Well,
be it in the grandfather role, be it in the co-parenting role, be it in the husband role, be it in the mate role. Like, what is it about a man that is so important to a family's dynamic?
Well, I think a man's voice, for one, babe. Now, listen, if a man follow Christ and his woman should follow him. I did a short talk for a preacher one time, and they asked me to do, and my advice to him, to his wife, were, as long as he follow Christ, you follow him, and then you won't go wrong. So, in saying that, though, and I throw that in there because, listen, there's so many of us get off track because we don't know. Listen, if a man don't know how to be a man unless somebody teaches him how to be a man. So if as a boy, I grew up without a father. So how am I going to learn how to be a father unless somebody teaches me, or unless I become a father and learn how to be a parent? Then I can tell my sons or my daughter how to be a parent. So the man voice, for one, his voice carries way more. If you notice that a man can speak, and you instantly gonna, I seen a TikTok the other day where the girl was saying, baby, would you stop? And the man just simply said, sit down, and that baby just but it was just the authoriness in that voice, though. That voice carries weight. So if a true man, it's always going to be an asset to that family, because we are the leaders. Men are the leaders, babe. They don't got women's libs and all that stuff, but men are truly the leaders of families. Now, listen, a lot of us ain't doing it, but
you just said something that was so important, because you said, but who's raising men, though?
Yeah. So well, they have to learn that. Somebody has to teach them how to be men. That's right.
We're being raised in fatherless homes, right? Where the man is not present. And most of the men don't really know. They're figuring out what it is to be a man.
That's right. That's exactly.
So if a man is an important part of a family dynamic, who's teaching him that aspect of the role in the family dynamic? And I'm saying, because I do feel like there are men out there that once they leave the woman, they can have kids in that house and feel like they're out, like they don't have any more responsibilities. But no, you got kids in that house, so you still have responsibility. That's right. In my opinion, you're still responsible for that household, because you have children in that household. But it's some men who don't feel like that, right?
Well, if you look, baby, I bet you 50% of society has it just like that. Men don't accept the responsibility. Once they can't have the woman no more, they don't feel like they owe the children anything. And that is crazy, because first of all, children don't ask to come into the world. When we become parents, we do that, and we are responsible for those children too. And I don't think parenting ever stops. I don't think, my mom 93 years old, you know yourself, when my mom speak right now, Frank, shut up, what I do? Go sit down. Yes, ma'am, and go sit my butt down, because and I do it because I want my children and my grandchildren to never think that parenting never stop. You never stop being a parent as long. And I think as children, we owe our parents the utmost respect. So many kids are dropping the ball as children because they don't respect, they don't know how to. Parents don't listen. Parents might make mistakes, but in your eyesight, they shouldn't. You should still be like, okay, mom, you did that, or dad, you did that, and then you go ahead and do what you want to do, but give them the satisfaction of believing that my child is going to accept me for being their parent.
Right. So, okay, so you live both sides of the fence, because we talked about it. So you have the in-house kids and you have the outhouse kids, right?
That's right.
You wasn't a parent to the outhouse kids, and you were very much a present parent for the in-house kids, right?
Right.
And along your journey, one, how did that affect you coming up? Did you think about that? Did you, was that something that was on your mind as a parent? Just give insight to some people that may be dealing with that right now.
Well, it weighed heavy on me, because anytime you have a child in this world, anytime you have bring a child into the world, you have a responsibility. And if you don't do your part, any person that's really got a any kind of heart or any kind of mindset of being, because I'm raising these two here in the house with me, and not doing nothing for that one over there. So naturally, yes. And I felt, I mean, it really did affect me, and it made me want to. That's God has a way of intervening. Though, see how He brought me into your life, though, because when you wanna be a part of something, it's some way that thing comes. It comes into play. It'll come full circle right back around to you.
Right. And I'm so
And
glad
I'm
that I
so
didn't
thankful.
really intervene with God's plan with my own feelings and emotions,
That's
and I
right.
was
That's right.
able to
That's
let
right.
that
That's
go
exactly. Exactly.
because
Exactly.
I
Because
feel like
it
if
could.
I would have been said, "Oh, okay, so you want to come into my life now," well, what about all
That's
this
exactly. That's
19
exactly. All
years
that.
that
That's
you
right.
haven't
That's
been
right.
here?
Yeah.
Like I said, so many missed opportunities would have been there with your grandkids. I mean, even for me, you know what I mean, as a
That's right. That's
woman
right.
who was developing and dating and needed like a shoulder to cry on, a phone call at night. Like there was many days I was in school and I had to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you stayed up and talked to me all night. You know what I mean? With
That's
so
right.
many
Yeah.
nuances in those 25 years of you being present in my life that I feel like, man, if I didn't have him, now would God probably have brung somebody else? I don't know, but I wouldn't probably have seen them or
Yeah.
recognize. It wouldn't have been a dream fulfilled for me, right? Like a wish
That's right.
fulfilled,
That's
because
right.
my wish was that I knew my dad and that I,
Exactly. You always said that. That's right. That's right.
right?
I,
And so as a consequence, I'm just so grateful that I moved out my way, right?
that's right. That's
And
right.
God
And,
moved
and not self.
in.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes we could be the biggest obstacle ourselves. You're right. I wanted to share one more thing, baby.
I want to say this though, because Terry Reid said, powerful, believe it or not, a lot of men want to do the right thing and don't know how.
And don't know how. That's right.
So what
Because
you got?
and then a lot of men want to and can't because that other parent won't allow them to. It's so many dynamics that go into that thing. I personally didn't have, and that's what I wanted to point out. I didn't have a dad myself, and so when I was 20 years old, as you were, I met a guy that was my dad. People were saying he was my dad, but he never said he was my dad until I got grown and went back home in my own car and my own money, and then he wanted to be. But listen, so in saying that though, whoever just said that, we have to remember a lot of things that keeps us from being co-parenting. There's a lot of things. Listen, me and my children's mom, my daughter's daughter and her parent, they all co-parent well because we can't let the fact that me and the woman didn't get along or we couldn't make it as a couple, but our children know that we gave it our best as parents.
Right. And I think this is powerful too, Dad, because I think that, and I always said this, at one point in my life, I was looking for balance in the moment. And what I
Hmm.
realized is that balance happens over a lifetime, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
right. That's right.
and so allowing life to shape, shift, move,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean, in
yeah.
a way that allow for flow enough. And I think that when we are very resistant and very
Hmm. Hmm.
grudging
Yeah,
and
yeah.
very, very unforgiving, we give
Right.
life like parameters in which to work, right?
Yeah,
So you
that's
got
right.
to work between these parameters that I give you to work. And then
Yeah.
life is not as fluid, right? So it can't move and shape and flow because you
Mhm.
said, well, I'm not going to forgive him for that. And I'm not
Right.
going to let this go. So either
That's
it's
right.
going to happen between these two walls that I give you,
Mhm.
and then we end up stripping off so much of life because we have put the parameters in which life is supposed to happen. And we're so finite, meaning we
Yeah.
don't know
Small
everything
mind. Small
in
mind.
all
Yeah.
of the
Yeah. That's
workings of God or the higher power or whatever you want to call it. And so when we
mm-hmm.
put those parameters, it's like we're putting blinders on ourselves,
Blindness. That's right.
you know what
Right.
I
That's
mean?
right. That's
And
right.
not allowing life to move. And as
Yeah.
a consequence of me not having those and that's what I feel like forgiveness is too. Letting
Blind.
go of the walls, right? Letting go of these parameters or these things that's preventing life to just happen and
Yeah.
allow it to flow and deal with situations as they come
Yeah.
and have enough emotional intelligence to be able to handle the situations in a very healthy way. And if you don't know how to do that, get a therapist, get a coach, get a mentor, get somebody to help you navigate the situation. But if you with somebody that's cheering you on, right?
Yeah, encouraging you. That's right.
Encouraging you to not let
Yeah.
things
That's
to
right.
hold grudges on people. I don't know if those are the right cheerleaders for you. You know what I mean? You need, because growth comes with resistance, right?
Of
Growth
course.
is
Of
a
course.
part of change, it's evolution, and it's going to be emotional to do that. My last question, Dad, because we're wrapping up the show, but my last question is, what is it that parents expect their from their children if they have been in error? So what is a parent expecting if they've done something wrong or they've said something wrong? They might have not showed up 100%. What are they expecting from their child? You know what I mean? Be it a 43-year-old child, a 55-year-old child, a 12-year-old child. Like what is their expectation? What do they want their child to know, do?
Yeah. Well, I think a parent greatest goal is to first and foremost, we want that child to grow up and be respectful and mannerable and always respect I guess I won't say authority, but just respect the fact that, listen, parents make mistakes, parents do things that they, and then, babe, I think the key to the whole thing is, listen, kids from 3 to 12, that's the most vital time in their life for having parents to structure them, to teach them. Yeah. And then now listen, but after that, a child got to realize that there'll come a time in your life when you have to step up and be like, okay, listen, because you might have lost a parent. You might have lost a parent to death. You might have lost the parents to the street, or some parents just walk off and leave their children. So life don't quit because somebody, it's just like death. Life don't quit because death comes or because trouble comes or obstacles. You know, there's always pitfalls and obstacles. You know, there's stumbling. Lee Williams said that you know, people put stumbling blocks in your path. Well, you can't quit living because somebody put a stumbling block in your path. Well, you got to still stay the course. First and foremost, the child got to stay the course. Because it's so many parents that made that mistake, baby. It's so many of us done dropped the ball as parents. We just, because we didn't know how. We didn't know. So we would want our children. So don't, whatever, I would tell any child, don't hold a grudge against your parents because they make mistakes. Just like, I mean, and they're going to make some mistakes. And then as you get older, as you see, you will learn that, listen, I can see where my parents made mistakes down the road.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for us I think it's easy for us to look at the mistakes that other people make.
Yeah.
And look at the violations that other people make. And it's very challenging for us to look at ourselves and see ourselves as imperfect beings who make mistakes, who have hurt. So people say, like I say, you know, I have been cheated on, but I have cheated. You know what I mean? I have been lied to, but I have lied, right? Right. So there's nothing that has been done to me that I haven't done to myself. And I would take it a step further and say, you can't call me nothing that I ain't already been called myself in my mind, right? So this is how one of my defense mechanisms, right? So when somebody try to call me on my name or say something, I'm like, you can't say nothing about me. I have already charged myself, right? And I've forgiven that and let it go. So you know what, that again, I just thank you because I know that this conversation, one, I want to thank the audience, you know, because this is a very vulnerable conversation. I think the people who know our story know our story.
Yeah, well, you kind of got me in there on that one. And here's the thing. Let me say this though, because there's nothing that I've done that I'm ashamed of. Listen, whatever you go through in life, it shapes you to be who you are to this day. So whatever you have done, it was part of, according to the word. I mean, whatever you went through, you needed to go through it because it's supposed to make you a better person, that makes you who you are to this day. Whatever you do, though, try not to hold on to grudges and mess, because it's just gonna, it hurts you. It don't hurt that other person. It hurts you more than anything. So if you try to hold on to some stuff that, you was 9 years old and you 59, you still holding on to some mess. Who was that hurt?
Right, right. And then remember, we only know what we know until we know
We only
something.
know. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Right. And so a lot of
Sometime though,
times,
when you shape your own, you're gonna shape your own life, and you're gonna become the best parent you can be. And listen, I think you are excellent mom to some wonderful boys, and I mean, you're I can't say you're a perfect daughter, but you're a darn good daughter too. I wouldn't change our relationship for nothing in the world. So you keep doing what you're doing, and I'm proud of you as a dad. I'm proud to have you. I'm proud that you would let me share my experiences with your audience and your friends.
and again, this is the What Will My Daddy Say show. I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about family matters, because the matters in the family
That's right.
affect how
That's
we
right.
live,
That's
who we
right.
choose, right? And a
That's
lot of us have mommy and daddy issues.
right.
We talk
Yeah.
about daddy issues with women, but a lot of us have daddy issues because we haven't healed and allowed
That's right. That's right.
space
That's right.
for the healing of our fathers, right? Or our mothers. And then we end up reliving that in our relationship with
That's
the
right.
spouses
That's
that we
right.
choose. And so I wanted to make sure that, this What Will My Daddy Show conversation is truly not just about Sheila dating, which I got to give an update.
Yeah.
Sheila dating, right? It's not just about me dating, but it's also about the healing that I went through and
That's
growing
right.
up
That's
without a
right.
dad and letting that go, and growing up with a not present mom and letting that go, and loving them both to my fullest
Yeah.
today, and
Yeah.
receiving their love today as a 43-year-old woman, and then encouraging the audience to forgive and let go so life can start to
Please,
shape and
please,
evolve
yeah,
itself for
please.
you,
That's right.
in a way that it was meant for you. And a lot of times we're not getting our blessings, Dad, because we're in the way. We're being our own stumbling block by
That's
holding on to grudges. And I think the Bible say this, don't let the sun go down, right?
yeah.
Because
Without.
it's a heavy
That's
heart,
right.
right?
That's
And
right.
so, a lot of us are just giving reasons for not letting go and justifying why we can't let go. But let me tell you, this was 19 years. I was in, abusive homes. I was being, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually assaulted, as a young person. And I
That's right.
could have said, you know
Yeah.
what, Dad, if you was in my life, none of
That's
these
right.
things would have happened to me. And I could have held that,
Yeah.
rock against him, and could have wished for a different outcome for my life. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that wouldn't have done me a service nor him a service,
That's
because
right. That's
we
right.
couldn't change that situation. So letting it go and letting them come in actually allowed me to heal those spaces
That's right.
where that abuse happened, and allowed me
Mm-hmm.
to expand as a woman, and become the woman that you see me as now, and also heal the relationship with my mom and my kid's father. So I mean, he's just been so relevant in my life. So it may be some people that you're holding grudges with, especially your parents, that you're
Mm-hmm.
holding grudges with, wishing that
That's
they
right.
could have been
That's right.
different, wishing that they could have showed up differently, wishing that they would have said something different or did something different. And listen,
Mm-hmm.
if they knew how, they
If
would
they
have.
do, come on, girl.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If they
Yeah.
knew how, they would have. But sometimes people just don't know how. But you have the power in 2022
You have the
to
power.
be the
That's right.
change that you want to see in the world. So if you want forgiveness, then forgive.
Yeah.
If you want
I,
somebody to let some stuff go, then you let it go.
that's right. My final comment was going to be, listen, the blame game, the easiest game in the world to play. We could play that blame game. We could throw that at somebody else. Look in the mirror, check your own self. Listen, there come a time in all of our lives where we have to shape our own, make our own way, shape our own path. Don't be so quick to blame somebody else for our shortcomings, because that's the easiest game in the world to play, is the blame game. I love you, and thank you once again.
Right. And so now an update. So you guys know when we first started off, I had the text from the guy. So close that book,
Yeah.
open another book. My update on my date this weekend.
Yeah.
I had a good date. So I did go see the guy that texted me, and we went out. We had a drink. He bought me some food, and he was in from out of town, so I picked him up, dropped him back off. But it was a great experience. I'm glad that I went. And again, a part of this daddy-daughter relationship is just encouraging me to do more things and be more things, and really just put myself in situations where I can grow and expand. It was a great situation. I had a good time with him. Hopefully, I'll see him again. And so that's the update. I did go out on a date and I had a good time on the weekend. So
you only get one life, babe. You only get one life to live. Listen, if you come up short or don't blame nobody, but you enjoy life to the fullest. Every day is a new day. And if you don't enjoy it, you blame yourself, because tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, on that note, we're going to shut it off. So thank you guys again. We love you for taking part in this conversation. Thank you for everybody for your comments. Remember, share, and comment on this post. If you guys don't know, I'm doing a 30-day affirmation challenge. So you can go to the I Am Shaping Solutions Facebook page, download that. You'll get 30 days of affirmations for free to elevate in your life. We're on our show at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. So if you want to see our show, what will my daddy say? Tune in at 8 o'clock next Thursday for another candid conversation between me and my dad. I love you, Dad, and I love you guys. See you guys next week.
Okay. God bless all. All right, babe.
Bye-bye.